Towards sculpture. It's 2008. I'm a final year MFA student at NCAD. We are huddled in a dark seminar room awaiting a presentation on sculpture from the then inspirational head of sculpture, Philip Napier, who was fresh back from the 5th Berlin Biennale entitled When Things Cast No Shadow. Memory serves as the moment is strangely vivid, considering the context of the dark seminar room, my naivete in terms of a personal definition of sculpture, and the focus on Aleana Egan's off-site Biennale contribution, which by most reviewers' accounts was the one work that could easily be missed or forgotten, standing as it did, grey and bow-legged, in the grey German scrub against grey German industry, a roadside picnic, if you will. I resurrect this not-so-great memory because the heated debate that took place in that room in NCAD 12 years ago concerned the nature of contemporary Irish sculpture. Contemporary Irish sculpture was being defined or cemented in front of students who had been sheltered in the Institute for 2 years and knew no better. Egan's contribution stirred feelings in that room that day. Her sculpture wasn't grounded in what was being posited as contemporary Irish sculpture that day or any day. It was more detached, unearthed, literary, removed from context. Context being something that seemed so important to the definition of sculpture being delivered to students in NCAD that day. And yet Egan's example was the definition of sculpture I took away that day because it was ill-defined. It was neither aesthetic nor moral, private nor public, this nor that. It would form a personal appreciation of sculpture from that day onwards that was somehow otherworldly, art that held a mirror to reality without being grounded in the heavy, rhetorical, deliberate, socially engaged purpose of sculptural ambition I came to know at NCAD. The following decade, my eyes were open to sculpture that excavated rather than built, staggered rather than postured, multiplied rather than solidified, popped rather than farted from the embalmed husk of the exclusively casted or carved, such as the original Basic Space Dublin exhibition Underground, where the very ground of the temporary warehouse space that the collective of individual artists inhabited was dug up to form unidentified holes in walls and piles of labour in a diffused environment made possible by a fog machine. Or months later at a Project Art Centre also doused in fog, where Sam Keogh's styrofoam mountain was excavated to generate more sculptures in a meta-birthing pool of process and production. Or Marcel Vidal's early expanded foam totems of black and organic globular forms upon which pencil and painted portraits perched in a collision between the fetish of representation and colonial art of darkness. Our own McHugh's a resurrected dream of an animal carcass on unsteady deer legs, as if just birthed from a tar pit at Curling Gallery. Or David Beattie's Cloudmaker, comprised of 3 timber legs ending in a pyramidal point where water dripped from an upturned 5-gallon plastic container to fall to vaporized life on an electric hob at Una Young. Or Niall de Buitléar's concentric mounds of card that perpetuated a fossilized world through obsessiveness over craft at the lab. Or Caoimhe Kilfeather's mind sculptures of carved and polished coal that generated imitators by the scuttle load at Mermaid Art Centre. Or Cliodhna Timoney's colourful and upbeat amorphous forms that inferred music without sound at 8 Gallery. Or Hanna Fitz's slapstick world of slanted furniture, rainbow bright and wagging beneath drooping ears and quirky sadness at TBG&S. Or Teresa Gillespie's intestinal abjection, wounded and wound around the dregs of stillborn liveliness and joy at Wexford Art Centre. Or Maria McKinney's monstrous catch that formed a hanging garden of tumorous stalactites bejewelled with fake nails at Artbox. Or Tom Watt, Tanad Williams and Andreas van Knobloch's concrete stoop with pool and crawl space for the adventurous at Project Art Centre. Or Magan-held Opdal's glutinous pink serving of stacked donut boxes at Buitléar Gallery. Or Rudy Lyne's monumental timber structures that directed our eyes through, up, down, and within and without the institution. Or Brendan Early's failed modernism as flatback furniture at DHG. Or Siobhan Hapaska's penitent and willow ashen monks that kissed and suffocated at the moment of immolation at Curlin Gallery. Back in 2008, as a painting department student, I looked at the sculpture department as being too concerned with the world, especially the lowly socioeconomic world close by in the neighbouring liberties, while the sculpture department looked at the painting department as a complete waste of time. This was no secret. We both knew where we both stood, separate, sculpture grounded in the social and political present, while painting continued to embrace the irrational and private aesthetic of the individual. Aleana Egan's work was an antidote to how sculpture was being defined that day in NCAD. Her work bridged the small gap between the departmental land grabbing in the institution. It didn't intrude on an already crowded world in Peter Schaldal's estimation of sculpture. It stood back like a painting, a material Egan would later embrace in her now trademark loopy skins of paint. Painting was my thing. I had no idea what had happened to sculpture between the Greeks and modernism, never mind sculpture in Ireland, for the last 40 years. My watch began after the MFA as an artist and art critic, and my definition of sculpture was cast by Aleana Egan's shadowless signature in the rough, the dark, and the spit of argument. The rest is history.